Appreciated. Ian Lochhead.
Kia ora, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this afternoon. What I want to talk about today are two aspects of the more detailed written submission that I've already made, and these are the core funding for heritage, including Heritage Incentive Fund, and also the Canterbury Provincial Council Chambers. I'm sure you're all familiar with the Heritage Strategy document, which you adopted as Council recently, and I feel that this is a policy document that is not being fully reflected in the long-term plan as it stands at the moment. I recognise that the document sits beneath the LTP, but it should be informing it. The strategy identifies goals for the protection of heritage through partnerships, including the support of heritage buildings through ongoing provision of heritage incentive grants. The public consultation for that policy identified key benefits of heritage as being community, identity, sense of place, qualities that every city would be keen to have. The consultation process also identified funding as the single most important tool to protect and retain heritage. Education to increase understanding and appreciation of heritage was seen as the next most important tool. The consultation process also identified lack of funding as the biggest barrier to heritage retention. High cost was also a significant barrier, obviously linked to the importance of funding, and lack of public awareness and appreciation was seen as a further barrier, highlighting the importance of education. It also revealed that the Heritage Incentive Grant Fund had a high level of visibility among Council's heritage initiatives. A very high number of heritage building owners consulted would welcome support to identify funding opportunities related to their buildings. The Heritage Strategy 2019-2029 seeks to broaden the definition of heritage and to make heritage more inclusive, but the LTP proposes reducing funding for heritage incentive grants, the Heritage Festival and intangible heritage from $700,000 a year to $200,000 a year, in other words, a reduction of $5 million over 10 years. This is being proposed in spite of the overwhelming evidence from the Council's own recently adopted heritage policy document that identifies funding as the single most important strategy for retaining heritage, with education seen as a further key strategy. Council's proposal in the LTP to cherry-pick a small number of high-profile heritage projects for support through targeted rates shouldn't be a reason to drastically reduce funding for core policies that support ongoing heritage recognition and retention. It's my submission that the core heritage funding should be maintained at the current level of $700,000 per annum for the duration of the LTP, with annual adjustments for inflation. I now want to speak briefly about the Provincial Council buildings.
Well, it's just, I just do know that you represent an organisation, but it's submitted in as an individual one. So if I sort of accept this as slightly more of a representation on behalf of Civic Buildings Trust, I would like to give you a minute to finish the...
Thank you very much. I support the targeted rate for the provincial buildings, but it needs to be applied directly to a program of work on the buildings themselves. I think this is the way to convince others, including central government, to add their support to the provincial buildings. We've talked about restoring the provincial buildings since 2011. Let's not still be talking about it in 2031. And I just want to end with a question. Te Pai stands directly opposite the provincial buildings. Does Council really want a broken heritage building as part of its front window to the world for the next 10 years?
Yes, an encouraging message that I'm sharing with central government at present. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Now, that brings us to another natural break in proceedings. It's a